Well, it's a new week, and it's now a best of five. What's up, everybody? I'm Jim Rodriguez, and welcome to the Monday as we get ready for the final week of the baseball season. Yikes, hate to say it, but the Dodgers 3 wins away from winning the World Series as they bring the series back to LA, tied at 1 after splitting the 2 games up in Toronto. Masterful performance by Yoshinobu Yamamoto, some clutch hitting from Will Smith, and of course, we'll get into tonight's Game 3, tomorrow's Game 4, and we know there will be a Game 5. That'll be Wednesday at Dodger Stadium. But first, remind you can always hit me up right there on Instagram and on X at JRodShow. And of course, love all the support. The subscriber count just going through the roof. Hit us up constantly. Hit those thumbs up buttons. Subscribe, share, like. Tell your friends. Get to keep that subscriber count going, as Dodgers latest is a success because of you. And the Dodgers, we'll still be here once the season ends. We got trade rumors. We got the winter meetings. And next thing you know, it'll be spring training all over again. But first things first, it's Game 3 of the World Series. But before we look forward, let's look back a little bit. And what a masterful performance by Yoshinobu Yamamoto, right? Complete game, 4-hitter, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, retired 20 batters in a row. The last guy that got on board was Vladimir Guerrero, who had a 3rd inning single. And then Yoshi was dealing. And boy, I'll tell you what, talk about coming up clutch after that disastrous Game 1 where the Dodgers bullpen was once again exposed. It was actually a 2-2 game until that 9-run catastrophe. And Yamamoto said, no, I got this, folks. Multiple complete games for Yoshi. Remember, he pitched a complete game in Game 2 in Milwaukee in the LCS. First time since 2014 that we've had multiple complete games in the same postseason. First pitcher to throw back-to-back complete games since Curt Schilling in the 2001 postseason. And, of course, Yamamoto joining some Dodger elite as Oral Hershiser was the last Dodger to throw back-to-back complete games in a postseason. That was in that magical year of 1988. But for Yamamoto, man, just absolutely mowed him down. And I guess what got me was, we kept talking about like this is the Brewers, but with pop, right? That's the Blue Jays. They're gonna foul a lot of balls off. They're gonna grind you, and they did it with Blake Snell, who didn't exactly have a bad outing, but he certainly wasn't at his best. And they were able to grind out and get his pitch count up. With Yamamoto, it was just the opposite. Even though they were able to get some foul balls, he went after the guys. Got a lot of ground balls, got a lot of balls in play, which is what the Jays do, and the credit to the Dodger defense coming through, other than that little pop-up that Freddie Freeman lost in the Skydome Rogers Center roof. But Yamamoto, absolutely brilliant, and I'll tell you what, $325 million. We had our doubts, right? A little bit last year because he got hurt, was shaky, and it really came to life. Seemed like when the bright lights of the postseason happened. And this year he has been the ace, unquestioned, from beginning to end. Everybody seemed to have gotten hurt. Everybody seemed to have their down periods, but not Yamamoto. And what gets me is how mentally tough he is. Because I go back to that Baltimore game, right? When he had that no-hitter, was 1 out away. They took him out. They lost the no-hitter, and they lost the game. I mean, he's the first guy giving hugs and patting Blake Trinan on the back and all the guys and Tanner Scott on the back. Again, the guy's a pro, and what everybody was talking about is after he pitches that complete game, he's out helping clean the dugout over at Rogers Center. He's just a different vibe, man, a different cloth, and absolute ace. And the Dodgers are getting every penny they've paid for this guy, and he has been absolutely amazing. And so has been this Dodger pitching staff, which is, we're going on history, and we'll get into that a little bit later on, is that's what they're going to have to need to win, because it doesn't seem like the offense is going to get them across the finish line. But before we get to that, let's get over to Game 3 tonight. It's going to be Max Scherzer, ex-Dodger, and Tyler Glasnow on the mound. It's funny because we thought Scherzer was going to pitch Game 4, and then John Schneider mixed it up, said no, he wanted to give Shane Bieber an extra day off, so Shane Bieber will pitch Game 4 against Shohei Ohtani. But tonight it's Scherzer and Glasnow. Now, Glasnow, he's pitched in the World Series before. He pitched against the Dodgers in the 2020 World Series. This will be his third World Series start. Hasn't gone well for him. He's given up 10 earned runs in a tick over 9 innings in the World Series in his career. Lost both those games in 2020. Had a no decision his last time out in Game 3 against the Brewers. Pitched 5 2/3, a run, 8 Ks. That's kind of what Glasnow is going to give us. So you almost figure with Scherzer, this is going to be a bullpen game. And that's going to be something the Dodgers are going to have to really see because, again, with Yamamoto, even with Snell, you figure you're always going to go late in the games. Glasnow not necessarily going to get you late and deep in the games. So to be curious to see how the Dodger bullpen leverages tonight. And same thing with the Blue Jays bullpen. They are very similar in the Dodgers in that sense that their bullpen has gotten a lot of grief. And for Scherzer, he's 41 years old, right? 5-5 with an ERA of 5. Dodgers beat him back in August. It was Kershaw that beat him at Dodger Stadium. In that game, he went 6 innings, 2 earned, 6 hits, 5 strikeouts. Mookie Betts got him for a home run. And for Scherzer, the wild part about it, this is going to be his 5th World Series start for his 4th different team. I mean, that's crazy. That's never been done before. He will be the starting pitcher on 4 different World Series teams. He was with the Tigers, he was with the Nats, he was with the Rangers, and now with the Blue Jays. He actually won it all with Washington and with Texas. He was on that Tiger team early on in his career. So Tigers, Nats, Rangers, and now the Blue Jays. His 4th different World Series appearance as a starting pitcher, and this will be his 5th start. And it'll be interesting to see what the Dodgers do in terms of how they attack him. There's been some great content going around on social media how Max Scherzer is a throwback, right? Old school. Can't talk to him on the day he pitches. Once he puts on those headphones, he's crazy. We saw the image during the ALCS of him yelling at his manager John Schneider when he went to try to take him out. He's crazy. Old school, that, kind of like, tough guy, a throwback, a Neanderthal, a caveman of pitchers. And, you kind of miss that. But the Dodgers, at the end of the day, know that it's father time. He's 41 years old. He pitched for the Dodgers. And I wonder if there's still a little bad blood. Because remember, the Dodgers made a trade for him. They got him and Trey Turner from the Nationals. And then Max pitched great down the stretch and just kind of fell apart in the playoffs and basically said he had a dead arm and couldn't pitch in some of the big moments toward the end and was very ineffective in the playoffs. So I'm sure the Dodgers will remember that. The Dodgers will try to hope that he's been ineffective again this postseason. It'll be interesting to see how they approach him because, again, you get 41 years old. You want to jump on these guys early. I don't know how many innings Scherzer's expected to go. He went 6 innings against the Dodgers back in August. Is this sort of a 4 inning and then we throw it out to the bullpen? That's why I'm saying this could be a very interesting high leverage bullpen game. And I think both managers are going to get their money's worth to see who exactly can come out and pull the right moves in the bullpen. The Dodgers bullpen struggled mightily in Game 1. Dodgers got to the Blue Jays bullpen and put the game away in Game 2, but certainly nothing that made, raised eyebrows like the Blue Jays got to the Dodgers. So expect a bullpen game. Expect some on brand to see which pitchers and which bullpens can deliver. Speaking of delivering, a guy who hasn't been is Andy Pages. Look at that. 0-93 in the postseason. 4 for 43. Does have an RBI. So far, the only thing that he's really been known for in this playoff is he hit that ball to Orion Kerkeren, who threw the ball away and clinched the division series for the Dodgers. Remember, he hit that comebacker, and Kerkeren panicked and threw it wide at home and allowed Hyun-Soo Kim to score, and the Dodgers ended up winning. It was a walk-off error, but Pages has been terrible. This is a guy that hit 27 home runs during the regular season. You figured that there was no sophomore slump during the regular season. 272, 27 homers, but it's just not found it. And I guess what Dave Roberts has shown us is he's stubborn, right? I mean, he stuck through Michael Conforto all year long before finally not putting him on the roster in any of the series. And Pages is entering, Conforto waters right now. 0-93, 4 for 43. Not a lot of good at bats. He was kind of criticized in Game 1. Came up, struck out on what would have been ball four with the bases loaded ahead of Ohtani. And this is where, Pages hitting ninth. It's key because he's got to turn the lineup over to Ohtani. If he's an automatic out, if he's an auto out every time, it either ends the inning or Ohtani's not coming up with people on base. So that's another part of it. I think what's been saving Andy is how well defensively he has been making. Although he almost got picked off the other night, and that would have been it. If he had gotten picked off at second base in Toronto, we never would have seen Andy Pages again. They might have left him in Toronto and said, "Find your own way home." But so the problem is, okay, if you don't play Andy Pages, you bench him, what do? Well, Tommy Edman is the natural to replace him in center field. But remember, Tommy's got a bad ankle, so he is struggling to cover some ground out there, and they've got him playing second base. Do you move Kike over to center? Well, okay, that's fine. Well, then who do you play in left field? Alex Call's an option. You just feel like the Dodgers' offense will continue to suffer. Now, you can say, it's suffering now because they got a guy hitting 093. I think they're hoping that, listen, Andy Pages didn't hit 27 home runs by accident. They're hoping he can find it. Dave Roberts has talked to him a couple times, changed his approach. Hey, just go up the middle, try to hit the ball right back through the box again. But again, if he struggles tonight, I don't know how you can justify keeping Andy Pages in the lineup anymore with that 093 average. And that is something that I think that the Dodgers has been the great concern so far in this playoffs. I mean, last year they were an offensive juggernaut, and the starting pitching failed them, and they ended up, just out hitting guys and throwing bullpen games to win the World Series. Well, when you look at some of the batting averages this year, when you look at Ohtani, we all remember the 3-homer, 6-inning, 10 strikeout game that won him the MVP in the LCS. But Ohtani's hitting 224. And if you take out that 3-homer game, it's even worse. Freddie Freeman's hitting 222. Teoscar Hernandez got off to a good start, but he's down to 229. Muncy's hitting 229. The only guy really hitting the ball well is Will Smith, who's over 300, and he's had a good early on 2 games in the World Series. I think Will Smith's early on favorite to win the MVP. He's 3 for 7, a home run, 4 RBIs in the World Series. So the Dodger offense has been woeful. And you face a Toronto offense that has scored in double digits in these playoffs 4 times already, including Game 1. It seems like the last 6 Dodger wins in the postseason, the last one against Philadelphia through the LCS, and then Game 2 against the Blue Jays, Dodgers have won by limiting their opponent to 1 run. It's been a lot of 5-1s, 4-1s, 2-1s. That was the Game 2 final, 5-1. So the Dodgers are doing just enough to scrape across, and they're really putting a lot of burden on the starting pitching because the bullpen has not been very good. So, if this offense can wake up, that's going to help. Otherwise, it's going to be a nip and tuck, nail-biting games all the way through, and curious to see how we do tonight, which looks like will be an obvious bullpen game with Glasnow pitching, and then Scherzer on the other side. Game 4 is tomorrow, and it looks like it's going to be Shane Bieber for the Blue Jays, and it'll be Shohei for the Dodgers. Game 5, more than likely, it'll be Blake Snell, maybe a rematch of Game 1 with Savage and Blake Snell. That'll be Wednesday at Dodger Stadium. Remember, no days off. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're guaranteed 5 games in this series, all 3 at Dodger Stadium. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. That's the times. So it'll be good times. If we go back to Toronto, well, they'll take Thursday off and then play Friday Game 6 in Toronto. And if there's a Game 7, it'll be Saturday night at Rogers Center. So 1-1. It's turning into a best of 5 right now. And wouldn't have it any other way, right? Dodgers trying to win their 9th World Championship in franchise history. They've played every team in the American League East, by the way, in the World Series as they try to beat the Blue Jays. And the World Series is going Hollywood starting tonight. Remember, hit me up right there, J-Rod Show, X and Instagram, and keep following, subscribing, liking. Hit the thumbs up button here on our YouTube page. We read all the comments. We'll have a comment section as we get later on in this series. I'm Jim Rodriguez. Buckle up, baby. It's going to be Scherzer and Glasnow tonight, and it's always time for Dodger baseball.